fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The ventilation of the Twilight rose hums like a distant choir, each breath of recycled air brushing the sweat on my skin. I tug at the too-tight collar of my Foreign Legion uniform, the fabric biting at my neck, a reminder that I am no longer the princess of Valanchian courts but a translator in a steel labyrinth. 14 days have passed, and the metallic tang of unspoken desire lingers in every corridor. My reflection in the armory's polished bulkhead shows a woman with dark eyes hardened by duty, yet still yearning for the touch she once thought forbidden. Lyra Vorsk, exiled royalty, now a conduit between alien tongues, stares back, the weight of a hidden crest pressing against synthetic fibers. Chief Engineer Tucker leans against the blast door, his broad shoulders radiating a warm cinnamon and musk scent that curls around my senses. Oil smears his cheekbone, glinting like a warrior's war paint. His hand finds my wrist, thumb brushing the pulse point, sending a shiver of heat up my arm. "Relax, frostbite," he murmurs, voice low and honeyed. "You've got the skill." The Eridani simulation starts in 20. Beside him, Commander Jerk stands like a winter storm, sharp angles, ice-blue eyes that strip me bare with a single glance. He tosses a plasma calibrator into my hands, the cool metal humming against my palm. "Fix the translator array or we'll all be screaming in vacuum when their diplomacy hits," he says, his tone edged with sarcasm, yet his breath carries a crisp chill that makes my breath fog in the dim light. Their proximity ignites a fire I can no longer deny. Tucker's hand slides up my forearm, fingers tracing the line of muscle, his scent deepening, his whisper a promise of warmth. Jerk's gaze lingers on my lips, a silent threat wrapped in desire, his icy stare promising danger and devotion. The ship jolts, alarms wail, and the hull groans under the strain of an incoming asteroid field. My heart races, a drumbeat of fear and longing. I glance at the trembling bulkhead, feeling Tucker's heat against my skin and Jerk's cold breath on my cheek. The choice between fire and frost burns hotter than the plasma storms outside, and I know the moment I decide will seal our fates forever. I step back into the translation bay, the walls humming with the low thrum of the ship's core. The console lights flicker, casting a pale glow over the tangled cables that snake like vines across the floor. My fingers hover over the alien glyphs, each symbol a promise of peace or a trap. I can hear Tucker's voice behind me, low and steady. "You always find the right key, Lyra. Let me watch your hands work." I turn, catching the way his eyes linger on the curve of my jaw, the way his smile threatens to melt the steel around us. "I need focus," I say, though my throat feels like sand. "If I mess this up, we could lose more than a negotiation. We could lose each other." He steps closer, his breath warm against my ear. "Then let me be your anchor." Jerk appears in the doorway, his silhouette framed by the emergency lights. The air seems to chill further, and I feel the faint sting of frost on my cheeks. "Anchor or not, the Eridani are not patient," he says, his voice a razor edge. "We have 20 minutes before the asteroid belt closes." I swallow, feeling the weight of the crest hidden beneath my uniform, a symbol of a house that once ruled with grace, now reduced to a badge of exile. My mind flickers back to the night the throne fell, to the sound of swords clashing, to the taste of blood on my lips. I had sworn never to be a pawn again, yet here I am, caught between two men who each hold a piece of my broken heart. "Tell me what you need," I say, my voice steadier than I feel. "The array is misaligned. The frequency is off by 3 nanometers. If we don't correct it, the Eridani will hear static instead of our message." Tucker's fingers tighten around my wrist, grounding me. "I'll reroute power from the auxiliary reactors. Give me a minute, and I'll have the surge stabilized." Jerk steps forward, his hand hovering near the calibrator I still hold. "And I will monitor the external sensors. If the asteroids breach the shield, I need to know instantly." The three of us move in a silent choreography, each action a note in a larger symphony. I feel the heat of Tucker's palm against my skin, a steady rhythm that steadies my breath. I hear the faint crackle of Jerk's comms as he taps into the ship's external feed, his eyes scanning the holographic map of the asteroid field. The translator array glows a soft violet, the alien glyphs pulsing in time with my heartbeat. I place my hands on the console, feeling the subtle vibration of the ship's core beneath my fingertips. The language of the Eridani is a cascade of light, each symbol a ripple in a pond of stars. I close my eyes, letting the rhythm guide me, letting the memory of my mother's lullabies blend with the alien cadence. "You're doing it," Tucker whispers, his voice a low hum against the roar of the alarms. "You're always doing it." I smile, though the corners of my mouth tremble. I have to, for my people, for my kingdom, for you. He leans in, his breath hot against my ear, and I feel a spark that threatens to ignite the very air between us. Then don't stop now. Jarek's gaze never leaves my face. I can see the calculation in his eyes, the way he measures each breath I take. Remember, Lara, he says, the Eridani value precision. One misstep and they'll think us weak. I nod, feeling the weight of his words settle like frost on a window pane. My fingers dance across the keys, aligning the frequency, adjusting the phase. The array hums louder, a deep resonant tone that seems to vibrate the very marrow in my bones. Suddenly, a shudder runs through the hull. The ship lurches, and the alarms crescendo into a deafening scream. I stumble, my hand slipping from the console, but Tucker's grip catches me before I fall. Hold on, he says, his voice a lifeline. We're not done yet. Jarek's hand clamps the calibrator, his knuckles white. Brace for impact, he orders, his tone now more urgent than icy. The asteroid field erupts outside the viewport, a storm of rock and fire. The ship's shields flare, casting an eerie blue light across the bay. I can feel the vibration of the hull, each tremor a reminder that we are teetering on the edge of destruction. In the chaos, my mind narrows to the translator array. I press the final sequence, aligning the last nanometer, and the violet glow steadies into a steady pulse. A soft chime rings out, a note of triumph that cuts through the clamor. It's done, I gasp, the words barely audible over the roar. Tucker's smile is a blaze of triumph. You did it, Frostbite, you saved us all. Jarek's expression softens, the ice in his eyes melting just enough to reveal something else, pride perhaps, or a flicker of something tender. The Eridani will hear us clearly now, he says, his voice losing its edge. The ship steadies, the alarms dim, and the hull settles into a low hum. Outside, the asteroid field continues its relentless march, but the shields hold, a thin veil of light protecting us from the chaos. I lean against the bulkhead, feeling the cool metal against my back, the lingering heat of Tucker's hand still pressed to my wrist, the faint chill of Jarek's breath on my cheek. My heart beats a wild rhythm, each thump echoing the choice that still hangs in the air. What now, I ask, my voice barely more than a whisper. Tucker steps forward, his eyes dark with something that feels like longing. Now we celebrate, he says, his tone softening, and then we decide what comes after. Jarek crosses his arms, his posture still rigid, but his gaze lingers on me with a softness I have not seen before. We have a mission to complete, he says, but there is no sarcasm in his voice, and we need to know where we stand, Lyra. I close my eyes, feeling the weight of the crest against my skin, the memory of a crown that once sat heavy on my head, the taste of exile that still lingers on my tongue. I think of the kingdom I left behind, the people who still look to me for hope, and the two men who have become my anchors in this steel maze. I cannot choose between fire and frost, I admit, the words trembling like a leaf in a storm. Both of you have given me something I thought I lost, purpose, safety, and a chance to feel alive again. Tucker's hand tightens around my wrist, his thumb tracing a slow circle. Then perhaps the answer is not to choose, he says, his voice a low promise. Perhaps we forge something new together. Jarek's eyes narrow, not in anger but in contemplation. A trinity, he murmurs, the word hanging in the air like a fragile crystal. It would be unconventional, but it could work. The notion settles over me like a warm blanket, the idea of belonging to both fire and frost, of being held by two halves of a whole. I feel a tear slip down my cheek, not of sorrow, but of relief. If we are to survive this galaxy, I say, my voice gaining strength, we must be more than a crew. We must be a bond that no asteroid can break. Tucker leans in, his lips brushing my ear, his breath scented with cinnamon and steel. Then let us be bound, he whispers, his words a promise that ignites the air between us. Jarek steps forward, his hand resting lightly on my shoulder, his touch cool as the night sky. And let us protect each other, he says, his voice a steady anchor in the storm. The three of us stand together in the translation bay, the violet glow of the array bathing us in a soft light. Outside, the asteroid field continues its relentless dance, but inside, a new rhythm begins, a rhythm of fire, frost, and the fierce heart of a woman who once wore a crown and now wears the weight of destiny on her shoulders. I close my eyes once more, feeling the heat of Tucker's hand, the chill of Jerk's breath, and the steady beat of my own heart. In that moment, I understand that the choice was never about fire or frost. It was about embracing the whole spectrum of what it means to be alive. "We are ready," I say, opening my eyes to see both men looking at me with a mixture of hope and determination. Let the Eridani hear our voice, and let the stars bear witness to our pact. The translator array pulses one final time, sending a clear, resonant signal into the void. The Eridani respond, their reply a harmonious chord that reverberates through the ship's hull, a promise of dialogue rather than war. As the ship steadies and the alarms fade, I feel a surge of gratitude for the path that led me here, from the gilded halls of Valantian courts to the steel corridors of the Twilight Rose. I have found a new throne, not of marble, but of steel and starlight, and I sit upon it with two allies who have become more than comrades. The future stretches before us, a galaxy of unknowns, but I know now that whatever storms we face, we will weather them together, fire, frost, and the unbreakable bond of a heart that refuses to be silenced.